Darcy.
I'm Shamie Galley.
And I'm David Keener.
And this is the Hourlings podcast project. Tonight, Dave's driving the bus. Dave, take it away.
All right, tonight we're talking about medicine in science fiction. We're going to start with the current day and then kind of extrapolate maybe forward or in a few different directions after that. So with that, starting with current day medicine and going into the science fiction realm, what kind of extrapolations can we think of? Where is medicine heading?
Well, I think right now is in science, a lot of the advancements that's happening right now is happening in medicine. In several fronts, the use of drugs, the use of microsurgery. You see any of those things where the little robotic, microsurgery stuff is going down and, excising polyps and stuff like that on the inside of somebody by a remote control? I think that's pretty wild. Doctors up there like driving little robotic hands on the inside with lasers and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. Very sci-fi.
All right, Shay?
Yeah, I think I'm a good example of medicine right now and where it could be heading, because the camera doesn't show it, but I'm in a wheelchair and I have a genetic disability that I was born with called spinal muscular atrophy type 2. And there's been some very interesting developments for my disease. Unfortunately, no straight out cures yet, like I'm going to take something and I'll start walking. But the advancements have been in bioengineering, which is really taking off because it's not just treating things in your body that need treatment, it's actually creating things in your body that are missing. So I have a disability because I am missing a certain gene. And so I've been taking medicine that is supposed to help my other genes create replacements, compensate for that gene. And so it's very interesting to see where that's going. It's not, like I said, it hasn't cured my disease yet. There's still a lot of work to do to get to the point where I could take something and I'd have enough creation of that missing gene to walk. But it's cool that we're moving in a direction of not just treating, but creating, which creates some controversy as well. Some people have looked at the treatments for my disease and said this is unnatural, or we shouldn't be doing this. So there's a lot going on in bioengineering. And
I want to take that one step further and say that one of the trends I see nowadays is for people doing body augmentations of different kinds. You see it to some extent with tattoos. You see it to some extent with people creating holes in their bodies, like holes in their earlobes and stuff like that. I could see body modifications going further. I could see people that want green skin, or they want to look like a Barbie doll, or they want to look like a lizard. I don't necessarily know why you would want to do this, or even play with things like gender. So I see that continuing and becoming more fluid and successful over time.
Yeah, I can see advancements in, they're really coming to understand the brain a lot. Take cochlear implants, for instance. That's just straight up magic as far as I'm concerned.
That's very advanced.
Suddenly, you spend your whole life deaf and suddenly you can hear. They're going to have the same advancements with vision. They're going to have the same advancements with all kinds of stuff. And then I think that medical technology is going to even go farther. They're going to give you brain implants that'll allow you to, hear. Can you imagine not having to have a cell phone device? It's like, oh, hang on a second, my mom's calling. Hey, Mom, what's up?
I think it's all these examples that we're mentioning all come back to controversy, in my opinion. Any sort of medical advancement has controversy around it. I'm thinking back to the first vaccines, where people are thinking that's crazy. What would you why would you put a little bit of the disease into you? Same thing like you were saying, Dave. These continuing modifications of appearance and gender and maybe even species. Might become more fluid over time. That's controversial. And the cochlear implants, Marty, are actually very controversial for the deaf community. A lot of people in the deaf community push back on them pretty hard. So yeah. It's interesting to see how Yeah, we progress, but there's always going to be controversy over it.
And I can also see other areas, taking what Marty said and going even a little further. If your cell phone starts to move into your head and become integrated with your brain, there's no reason why you can't add features like maps. Maybe there's an arrow that you see on your vision that nobody else can see that shows you where you need to go. So there's no need for you to ever get lost. Just indicate where you want to go, and there will be arrows in your visual in your view showing
Yeah,
you
I've actually used that in some of my stories. Directions appear like a rope of mist in front of them.
Mhm.
or tagging. Never not know a person's name again, because turn on tagging mode and everybody around you has a tag by them in your vision that only you can see that says, oh, Shay McGalley, noted author of YA fiction, Martin Wilsey, best-selling science fiction.
Just think of everything that happens in your phone. That you won't have to glance down at your phone to say, oh, this street isn't marked here, but this is, West Avenue here.
I don't know, you guys. I'm gonna be one of those like old people one day that is like adamantly against putting phones into heads, because I do not want my cell phone in my head. I definitely.
I won't be the first one to do it.
But you might get one.
But I'll be 40 millionth in line probably.
There you go. There you go.
And it depends on what it is too, and how invasive it is.
Yeah, you can turn it off, and you actually can turn it off, maybe. But could you ever actually turn it off? I don't know. Can you ever actually turn off Alexa? I don't think so.
Well, if I needed one, I would get a pacemaker.
Yeah,
the new
that's true.
pacemakers actually have defibrillators built in, and they
That's
got
fair.
Bluetooth and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
that's fair.
it's pretty interesting.
And go a little further in actual genetic tinkering, possibly to solve issues. That's one thing that might help out somebody like you, Shay. But let's. Oh, you're pregnant. Oh, let's do a little tinkering to get rid of that potential ailment. And while we're there, let's also increase intelligence or increase strength or add a few features. Oh, you wanted blue eyes. Okay, why not?
Oh, you want them to be able to fly like Superman?
I'm not sure they can go that far, but
just taking it into the science fiction realm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why I like this topic so much is because it's hopeful. I see a lot of, of course, in sci-fi and other genres, there's definitely a lot of dystopia and post-apocalyptic, and it can get pretty dark. But I've also seen a surge in the popularity of hopeful science fiction stories, hopeful environmental futures, hopeful medical futures.
Hope punk.
Hope punk. There you go. We got it.
But let me kill the hope, because the other trend that's been happening is the things that you need to have your own little personal laboratory in your basement to create, say, designer genes, designer viruses and stuff. That's getting closer and closer and closer to something a medical grad student could do in their basement and create the next plague, the worst version of COVID, or maybe the zombie plague or something like that. So that is one of the dangers they're looking at in the future as well.
Hey, zombie stories have got a lot of medical technology typically in it, especially the ones that try to tell you why they got, why there are zombies now.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is a dark side. You guys are right. There could be a dark side, right now. I mean, there's plenty of theories going around saying cancer has already been cured, and it's just more profitable to treat it rather than to cure it, stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, you could certainly have some dark stuff going on with medical science in your story as well.
Yep. All right, let's take it into space. Medicine in space. As we expand.
I think a lot of science fiction stories I've read understand that humans don't do all that well in zero-G. I think we've talked about that before on this podcast.
Yeah.
And they simply use a little medical hand waving saying, Oh, just as long as you take your supplements, you're not gonna have your muscles atrophy or your bones weaken. And you know, you got to buy it.
I
Well,
see medicine in space as being very similar, or having similar conditions to medicine in fantasy, because there has to be a clear limit. For example, if you have a magical world and you can do healing spells or whatever, there has to be some sort of limits that there can be stakes in your story. If everybody can be healed, in the snap of their fingers because of either medical science and sci-fi or magic and fantasy, then the stakes are really unclear about what going into battle actually means, or what risking your health actually means to do something. So just like in fantasy, sci-fi, space, I love it. I love to see creative advancements. It's a great way for have world building, but there has to be limitations in order to keep your stakes clear.
sure. Well, I think the biggest problem in space is going to be radiation. The second biggest is going to be, as Marty said, some of those zero-G issues that the human body has. So I don't know. I could see things.
I also believe that, once we actually open up the galaxy, there's going to be shit on other planets that we have absolutely no immunity for whatsoever.
Right.
Especially when you're talking about microbes and stuff like that.
I think it'll be less likely that a typical virus invades a human cell and turns it into a factory for producing more viruses. I'm not completely sure that an alien microbe will be able to do that to our cell, which is designed differently from what it's used to. But it doesn't matter if it's something that still likes a dark, wet environment, even if it can't turn cells into factories. Some kind of alien fungus growing inside you and being unkillable by your immune system, that would still be bad.
Yeah, that could ruin your whole day.
What a bummer.
I guess in space, I could see I could see lots of anti-cancer treatments, lots of anti-radiation treatments. I could see maybe space workers doing saving sperm and ova in well-protected banks so that they could have kids later on in life, because a lifetime career in space might make that otherwise impossible. Things of that nature.
What's often neglected in sci-fi novels when it comes to medical science? Mental health advancements. We're talking a lot about interesting things in treating our bodies, but I wonder how that can be portrayed in a futuristic society. How is schizophrenia treated? Does it exist anymore? How does depression manifest? Or is this just one of those mysteries that they never quite get to the bottom of because the human brain is so complicated, as Marty was saying?
Well, like in Star Trek, they found betazoids, and they can tell what you're feeling, and address it accordingly. Science fiction, the sky's the limit. But I think that there has been stories regarding mental health about being, claustrophobic in a spaceship for 6 years.
Right.
And stuff like that.
Well, I can also see one of the problems you have with a lot of mentally ill people is sometimes their condition can be treated with medicine, but things get bad when they don't take their medicine, right? So I could see futuristic systems that are implanted that ensure that you will get your medicine. It's not something that you can forget to take because it's automatic.
Interesting.
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever see the movie THX 1138?
Oh, a long time ago.
Yeah, well, he got in trouble for illegal drug evasion. And they were actually monitored in detail about when they took their drugs and how much they took and stuff like that. And they were not allowed to not take the drugs. It was an interesting medical development in science fiction.
I can't say that I think about sci-fi like, I don't know, on every single day, unless I'm watching a good show or reading a good book. But one way that it comes to mind just in my daily life is just the tiny little ailments. If I have a headache, I think, oh man, maybe 20 years from now, there'll be this ointment you can rub on your head and it just goes away automatically. You know, like it's little ailments of life really make you think about the future and futuristic advancements because they matter at the moment.
Yeah, in the Shadrach and the Furnace by Robert Silverberg, the aging ruler of the world had a whole sensor net embedded in his body, so his doctors could keep track of everything. Oh, he's got a slight headache today. Let me adjust this to fix it and stuff like that, which is a lot more intrusive than I would want, but could be possible in the future.
Well, it's pretty wild. Even today, they got systems that do internal monitoring and deploying medicine. One of my friends at work had an automated insulin pump that constantly, monitored their blood sugar level. And whenever they needed a little insulin, it deployed it. It was pretty wild.
It's pretty amazing, actually. And let's not forget that cyborgs are usually in the field of medical science.
Yeah, I counted that.
Right. Darth Vader is a walking, respirator.
Right.
Yeah, I counted that as sort of under body augmentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I could see other forms of augmentation too. Make me better, make me faster, make me stronger, make my reflexes faster than an ordinary human. Those would be all useful types of things that people would want to do. Let's see. Cloning. We haven't talked about cloning.
Oh, yeah.
There's a whole realm there.
Yeah, I've read lots of stories that involve cloning for good and evil. Rich dudes cloning themselves so that they have, an on the hoof organ bank standing by, stuff like that.
Or if they ever figure out how to transfer a mind between bodies, it's like, hey, can you transfer my memories into a younger me?
Yeah, I could see that happening. I get to be 65 years old and they start growing a younger clone, and when it's 20, they just take my head and put it on the new body. If they solve that whole spine thing.
Speaking of controversial.
Exactly.
And now I'm thinking of Jurassic Park, and we're so busy thinking about what we can do, we don't stop thinking about what we should do.
Yes, let's have a baby Stegosaurus with all the points, genetically modified to be, rounded instead, and let's make him 2 feet long and make him just a friendly little pet, your own pet dinosaur. Why not?
Yeah, what could go wrong?
If you can genetically do it.
Yeah, I think ultimately, once they have the absolute understanding of the genome, and they call them, don't they call them toasters now? The device for genetic manipulation.
I don't know, but that sounds like something somebody would do.
And man, they'll be able to tune up, offspring to be, any way you want.
And imagine cloning where you find the guy who's like the best soldier ever, and why have an army of different people? Why not have an army of 20,000 or 30,000 of him?
Well, that's the Star Wars, the stormtroopers. That's what they were.
Charles Stross did that in a book where one of the best soldiers ever, they cloned him, and because each one of them knew that they were just one of 30,000, they weren't as concerned about their own life as they were about the cause and stuff. As long as one of them survived, they were okay. That's just weird. Imagine having soldiers on the battlefield who don't care about whether they die.
Like the Romans.
Or a samurai.
That's why they were so successful.
No, I think the Romans cared. It's just the Romans had the discipline in the army that nobody else did.
The Romans had an unusual willingness to die, though. Maybe they cared, but it was an unusually exceptional willingness to die.
I wouldn't say that. I think they had unusual discipline.
We can disagree then, and we can have a debate on it off screen.
It also, when you talk about Rome, Rome lasted so long, you can there's Rome of different periods, and they're much different from each other. Anyway, we have strayed from medicine. Last thoughts about medicine? Any topics we missed?
Hey, I'm still waiting for my cure. So if someone wants to write up a really, really good proposal in their sci-fi book and send it to my doctors, please, by all means. You know, there's something to be said about if you can imagine it. Who said this? I think Ursula Le Guin said something like this. Like, if you can imagine it, it can be. And so sci-fi writers maybe have a role in the future of medicine and imagining what can be.
I think they can.
Yeah.
My next novel that I'm working on right now actually is a vampire novel set in 2016. And it's got a lot of medical technology in it. It's interesting.
Hard essay?
No, you know, it's more action adventure.
YA romance?
It's got a little romance in it.
I'm kidding. I'm throwing Twilight at you.
Not sparkly vampires.
Yeah.
Vampires in my story are badasses.
Yeah, I remember when vampires were monsters.
Now
Yeah,
they're sexy.
they're monsters in my story. Some monsters are better at pretending to be people, though, than others.
Those are the scariest ones.
That's right.
Right. The one thing I know is that medicine will change over time, and that we are in the time period where a lot of the groundwork for some really SF style developments are being laid right now. And if you look closely and read some of the articles that are out there, you'll find there's really some interesting stuff coming down the pike that may change all of our lives, or the lives of the next generations coming. There's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, you spend any time at all with Google looking at medical technology directions, and there is plot idea after plot idea just waiting to happen.
So go dream it up.
Start inventing longevity treatments so I can last long enough. You know.
Yeah,
Right on
I want
your
that. Give me the longevity treatment. I'll take it.
I want it too, but I guess I'll go last.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right. Good topic.
Anything else, folks?
Not for me.
All right, we're out of here. See you next week. Ciao.